Hello everybody. Yep, third straight video. It's album review time. Um so yeah, and as you see in the title below, this is the review of probably arguably one of, if not maybe the most important album of 2014, just based on one band due to its popularity. And that is Slipknot's .5 The Grey Chapter. Of course, to anybody who's watching this video should know who Slipknot is. In case you don't, brief history lesson like I like to do in all my reviews. And that is that Slipknot was a band that started out in the mid-90s, around that time of the new metal genre starting to develop with bands like Korn and the Deftones and Sepultura went in that direction. I'm sorry, I'm just a little messed up right now. And Cold Chamber and other bands along those lines came in, and then Slipknot came around with their first album, their self-titled debut in '99, which had the singles and the hits off of that album were phenomenal. It's just the rest of the songs on the album I personally felt. Now, I'll be honest with you. I used to be a big fan of Slipknot for a while, for a long time. But then after I just got overplayed with some of their stuff just over and over again, to the point where it was like I was starting to enjoy less and less. Now, the thing with me, whenever I get overplayed by some bands, I still listen to them no matter what, because the music I hear from those bands I get overplayed are still great, and they still feel great to me, like Metallica and Avenged Sevenfold in particular. With Slipknot, that's not the case. It's like now that I've discovered other types of metal and other bands that I feel are way better than Slipknot ever could. Sorry to Slipknot fanboys, but it's the truth. So it got to the point where I really wasn't into Slipknot very much anymore. So when this album came out, I was actually anticipating this, because who knew what could happen with Slipknot now that Paul Gray had passed away, may he rest in peace, and Joey Jordison's no longer in the band, which was a big shock, because Jordison was just one of those crazy drummers that I really, really loved. So, so it was their return album after All Hope Is Gone, which, by the way, if you ask me, out of the first four albums, I feel All Hope Is Gone was the best album out of that cycle, because I enjoyed the songs on it more than the other albums. But with this one, .5 The Grey Chapter, let's get into the review. So we had an introduction song called 19, which is celebrating 19, which is like a song about 19 years since the band started. It was an interesting introduction song to kind of get things going. Then we get into the song Sarcastrophe, which was a good song. I really like that aggression. That is always one thing I always love about Slipknot, is the fact that they are very aggressive with what they do. With that song, it definitely showed that their aggression is still there in their music. But then we get to one of my favorite tracks of the album, AOV. Holy crap, you want to talk about brutality. That track was about as brutal as it could get for a band like Slipknot, because blast beats were just going all over the place in the beginning. That song was just rip-roaring through the drums and the riffs, to the point where that is maybe my favorite song off the album. I thought it was a phenomenal track. Maybe one of my all-time favorite Slipknot songs now, because I think this is better than the typical songs like Before I Forget and Duality and Wait and Bleed and all that other good stuff. With AOV, it just had that diversity to it, with not only the brutality but with melody too. The Devil and I, which was one of the 3 singles they put out from this album, I actually enjoyed this song as far as a single than the other 2, because I really liked it, and the music video too was so gruesome. Like, it fit that song. Kill Pop had that little charm to it where it was the shortest regular song of the album that was an introduction song. I thought it was a great track because it just had that nice charm to it where you would get some of the brutality involved, but for the most part it was more melody than anything. The songs Skeptic and Leech, I felt they were good songs, but to me, they just weren't really ones that like got me going too much. Though the things I enjoyed about it, like I said, was the aggression. The song Goodbye, which was one of those really, really diverse tracks. Call me crazy if you will, but with that song, it felt like to me Corey Taylor was trying to pull a Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails on this song, because his voice sounded much more like Trent Reznor than his typical vocal approach whenever he goes on his clean registers. But then near the end of the song, it picked up a little bit in the aggressive vocal style and some of the aggressive riffs. For the most part, this was kind of a ballady kind of song, but not really. To me, this was like a mixture of like Nine Inch Nails and I couldn't even think of another band that could maybe be a comparison for this one. Maybe early Deftones, maybe. I don't know. But definitely Nine Inch Nails style stuff was apparent on this song due to the vocal approach Corey went into, where to me, he went more into the Trent Reznor realm than his own realm, which was something unique. Nomadic was another one of those aggressive tracks, but the song kind of felt a little bit forced at times, but I still enjoyed the hell out of it. But the next two songs, The One That Kills the Least and Custer was another single that was put out from the album. I enjoyed both of these tracks because the diversity that kept going with this album was definitely shown on those two tracks. The song Be Prepared for Hell was one of those very, very shocky, eerie, creepy story kind of pieces where it went into the lead single, the negative one, which I felt personally was the weakest song on the album, but it wasn't a terrible song to any stretch of the means, it was just meh. But then we get to the closer. Another favorite of the album, If Rain Is What You Want. Definitely, the band definitely showed that not only are they back with a vengeance, but they definitely have a lot to offer now. Now that they've no longer really gone too far into trying to copy what they did back in the day, they're actually trying to do some newer ideas, or try to show new ideas, I should say, and have diversity. And this song was definitely it. You have some aggression and brutality, you have your melodies involved, and some beautiful moments on this track too, just like in the song Goodbye. So, with this album, you definitely have heavy songs, no doubt about it. Slipknot's always been a heavy band. Corey Taylor's voice has definitely shown no signs of lostness. In fact, he still has his clean registers and he can still go brutal with his voice to the point where Corey's always been one of my favorite vocalists in heavy metal because he can sing any style and he's good with it. The drum work on this album, though, it's still not revealed who the drummer of the album is, but whoever is the drummer for the album did a great job. I really liked how he was able to play the drum kit on this album. The production, I thought, was very, very good. And then the big thing that I think separates this album from the first three albums, and maybe to a lesser extent the fourth album, the diversity with trying different ideas and making them, and it's like basically like throwing spaghetti up against the wall and finding out what could stick. And boy, did I tell you, most of that spaghetti stuck. And wow. To be honest with you, I wasn't really so much looking forward to seeing how this album was going to go due to my feelings about them in the past. But I have to say, Slipknot has surprised me big time. This is and actually I'll say this album's good. This is a good album. No terrible songs, though if I had, like I said, if I had to say the weakest track, it was the negative one. But that would be a minor complaint, really, with this album. And the only other complaint I could really have would probably be that middle portion of the album. But that's another minor complaint. No major complaints. 8.5 out of 10. Definitely took me by surprise. Though, like I said, though it's not album of the year. Not even close. But we may see this album on the album of the year's list at the end of the year. Who knows? We still got plenty more albums to check out before the year's over. Before we get to that list. But what did you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Did you like this album? Did you hate this album? Were you surprised by it? Leave a comment. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this album review. Peace.